2009 Honda Fit. This car has a very annoying problem. It's exhibiting a code P0138, oxygen sensor circuit, high voltage. And of course, if it was just an oxygen sensor, you wouldn't be on this channel, right? So oxygen sensor has already been replaced. I've erased the codes, about to go on a test drive, but I have saved the code. I just want to show you really quick what the codes are. That's the code it's setting. P0138, oxygen sensor bank 1, sensor 2, circuit, high voltage. Now if I go to the next, I took the freeze frame data, and as you can see here, oxygen sensor 2, 1.43 volts. That should never be the case. We should never cross 900 millivolts on the rear oxygen sensor. So that code is setting correctly according to the freeze frame. And now when I come to my live data, right now I'm tethered into the oxygen sensor and my picoscope is running as well, and I am on the oxygen sensor circuit line. Let me just quickly show you on the wiring diagram where that is, and then we'll go on a test drive. So we come here, go to system schematic, PGM FI. That's what Honda call their engine management system. And we'll look for the oxygen sensors, and here they are. So this is the lav sensor, that's the front O2, secondary O2 sensor, that's the rear O2. Our code is for the rear O2. Now this is the heater, because we have a connection on the ECU, and then the other side goes to the short connector and it goes to a fuse. So that's how I know that that's the heater, which means this one is my sensor element. So my oxygen sensor signal is on connector 108, pin 36. This is the white red wire, and that's where I am on the engine ECU. So let's go for a test drive and see what this O2 is doing. So my picoscope is running, and I have a 20-second screen capture. I don't want to miss anything in case we drop out our oxygen sensor signal or we raise it up. At the same time, I'm taking my live data, and I'm to start the car. So what I want to do is we'll put the scanner here and we will go on a test drive, and we will drive this car until the check engine light pops up. And once the check engine light pops up, we are going to see on our Pico, are we really raising voltage above 1 volt? Right now we are within parameters, as you can see, between 0 and 0.8 volts. And that's where we're supposed to be. And right now the check engine light is off. Now I've stayed here and I've revved it in park. Honestly, nothing has happened. So I'm inclined to think that this is a wiring problem based on the fact that I can't get this thing to act up on the driveway. But I want to go on a test drive, and then we're going to see if the check engine light pops up and what happens to both our live data and our scan, our picoscope. Let's go on a test drive. Now as I'm driving here, this car seems to have an acceleration problem. It has very low power when you're trying to accelerate from a hill especially. And something interesting is happening with my reading there. What is going on with my oxygen sensor? That's a very strange reading I'm getting. Huh. That is awesome. Wow. Never seen anything like that before. Look at that. And then it comes back up. That is very strange. And then when it comes back up, it seems as if we're going over a volt. Let me just pause that. Alright, we're on the road. Just want to give some good acceleration here. Wow, that is interesting. Completely lost my oxygen sensor. Let me just quickly go to the side here. We stop the scope and I pause my scan at the same time. Something very strange happened here. That is very interesting. We actually did go high. Let me go back, turn back around, go back to the workshop and analyze this data. This is very interesting. Now to try this again. So the road is clear. This appeared to occur when I was accelerating. So let me give some gas. Here we go. Oh man, that's awesome. I've seen what the issue is. So let me accelerate again. So look at this, when I'm accelerating, we totally go off the screen. And my scanner goes to 0 completely. So what I'm going to do is, right now my foot is off the gas. See, my oxygen sensor reading is coming back. So on the gas, off the gas, on the gas, off the gas. Something is up with the accelerator pedal and it's linked somehow to my oxygen sensor. Man, that's awesome. Okay. Alright, so I've stopped on the side of the road and I just want to put this thing in park. So right now we're in park and I want to hit my accelerator pedal to wide open and watch my oxygen sensor. So here we go. And nothing is happening. So it's not the accelerator pedal that's doing that. Of course, this has a limiter. But if I put it in drive, and I just want to take off. Pedal to the floor. Look at that. That's unbelievable. So let me go back here on the side of the road, and what I want to do is quickly come here and change my scaling, because now I'm interested in seeing how high are we going. And put this on a 20 volt scale. What is that signal riding on top of my oxygen sensor? And it's only when I accelerate past a certain speed. That actually has something to do with the speed. So right now I'm moving. We're good. To the floor. And off the floor. Check that out. That's amazing. We're back in the workshop. Just checked the codes, and as expected, we have a temporary DTC, O2, bank 1, sensor 2 circuit high. And we know that this is correct. So there's nothing wrong with the ECU. This is a circuit fault. But what is going on with my O2? We only have 5 volts when we accelerate, and not just the acceleration. It's when we accelerate, when the car is moving, when it picks up speed past a certain point, our O2 line jumps up there, and then it dips down and does this funky thing where it comes back up. And when it does this, it goes to 0 volts, around 143 millivolts. This is not the sensor. The sensor, it's not possible for an O2 sensor to produce 5 volts. The cell doesn't have that capacity. Oxygen sensor cells have the capacity of 0 to 900 millivolts. So something is on this line, either on the sensor line or on the ground line to the sensor. Now, seeing as my voltage is going this high up, my bet is something is up with our ground line for the O2. I don't think it's connected to the right ground. But that's just a speculation. But whatever this is, that is really cool. And guess what? You will never see this without a scope. Never, never, never. This is something that can only be caught with a scope. I don't know. Do you have any other way of catching this? If you do, let me know in the description. But I can tell you for a fact, without a scope, there's no way we would be able to see this. New sensor, next would have been to change this ECU. But now we know we're not changing the ECU. So I want to see what my ground for my O2 looks like. And that's what I'm going to pick next. This is connector 108. Second connector, the ECU. This is next to the battery, which is this side. And this is the cowl panel. It's a bit of a tight spot. But I think I know what's going on here. So let me explain. This is my oxygen sensor line. That's a signal wire. Now if you notice, it's coming to this thing here, and then it is joined again to the signal wire at the back here. I know what this is. This is a P0420 bypass modification. Now they do work. The only issue is this one is supposed to be connected, one to the sensor output, output from this to the input of the sensor, output of the sensor to the input of the mod, and then this black line is meant to be connected to ground. Now look at this. The ground for this sensor is a green yellow wire. What wire do we have here? Green yellow. However, this is supposed to be on pin 36. This is pin 34. This is pin 35, not pin 36. Now, if I peel back this onion here, I'm going to pull this wire here, and looky, this is another green yellow wire, but this time that is pin 36, that one here. Let me just see if I can pick it up nicely. This is pin 36. So this is the proper ground wire for this sensor. So this black is meant to be connected to this green yellow, not this green yellow. Let me show you on the wiring diagram what I mean, and we will see why exactly we are getting our symptoms. This is an easy fix though, but first let me show you what is going on the wiring diagram. So let me first explain what I mean by P0420 mod. P0420 is a catalyst efficiency code. So you get that when your catalyst is degraded and you need to buy a new catalyst to solve that. It's an emissions code. I think from 2004 onwards, car manufacturers mandated that that code be there if the catalyst goes bad. The proper way of addressing it is by buying a catalyst. The only problem is catalysts are extremely expensive. Talking about $2,000 thereabouts for the cat for this car. That in a third world country is close to 2 to 3 months salary of some people. So it's not feasible. So what many people do is to bypass it. The first bypass way is by software deletion. Second bypass way is by doing a catalyst P0420 mod, which is what has been done on this car. I won't discuss that mod because it is illegal in a lot of countries to do it, and my videos go international. I will not bother doing that. What I will tell you though is the idea is to use the ground for the oxygen sensor line. This ground is the green yellow wire which we saw at that connector. Now if you follow this, the green yellow wire goes to C. Now if you come here to the right, here is C. Secondary O2 sensor comes to this. This is a ground rail, and this ground rail serves the torque converter, turbine speed sensor, secondary gear speed sensor, ATF, temperature sensor. In fact, that's how we know it's a ground, because temperature sensors don't share anything apart from ground. So this whole thing is a ground rail, but look where this ground rail goes. It's connected, it's a sensor ground, green yellow, connected to pin 34. What we have is pin 35, which is also a green yellow. So that's the mistake they made. But what is pin 35? If we come here, we see connector 108, pin 35. Check this out. Green, yellow, what does it serve? VTEC spool solenoid valve. No wonder the voltage was elevating, not only when you give it throttle, but when you give it throttle and you go above a certain speed. That is when your VTEC kicks in, y'all. So the weird thing is, if you look here, the other side of the VTEC is a ground line. So this valve is permanently connected to ground, which means when this valve is off during low load, light throttle, this will be off as well. And if this is off, what we have here, ground passes through the solenoid, you'll still have a ground here. Right now, our oxygen sensor mod, the ground line is connected to this. So when we have a low load or at idle, the reason why our oxygen sensor looks like it's working well is because it is getting a proper ground. But immediately we add any load to this car, this spools up, and it's a variable voltage. We saw it kick up to 5 volts. So the repair is very simple. We're going to remove that line from this green yellow wire of pin 35, and we put it on this green yellow wire, which is pin 34 of the same connector 108. That should solve our issue of high voltage, because the sensor ground will remain a ground all the time. And the second thing is the capacitive P0420 mod will still work, and this car should be able to pass the catalyst efficiency test. Let me go and make that repair real quick. I've done the repair, relocated the ground. This was the wrong wire. This was the green yellow wire for the VTEC solenoid, and now I've used the correct green and yellow wire. Those are the sensor grounds. So let's take this oxygen sensor capture again. Let's go on a test drive, see if this thing will pass the oxygen sensor check and the readiness monitors for the other items, and also if our code will stop setting. Back in the car. Just want to clear these codes. Alright, let's read the codes just to confirm. System pass, no fault codes. And our readiness codes have also reset since we have cleared the codes. So once we verify this O2 is working, we also need to make sure that all our monitors set. I'm especially interested in catalyst and these two. Once those three are set and everything is complete, then we can return the car back to the customer. Always remember to do this screen. What you don't want to happen is another code, which is an efficiency code, come out of any of these. So make sure that you're good to go there. All right. Let me start the car. The picoscope is running, and we're hooked onto the oxygen sensor. And let's go on a test drive. I'm going to accelerate, see whether our oxygen sensor will remain within spec. Alright, the first thing I've noticed is the car car has much more power. On this hill going out, I had to floor it, and no longer I'm flooring it. Alright, let's go. So that's pedal to the floor. Very nice. We've got good power. And looks like our oxygen sensor is remaining right within spec. Just drive it a bit more so that our monitor's set. Right here we are on a clear road. Man, my throttle response is back. It's really nice. I was struggling going up this last time. Yeah, this is very good. So I guess the lesson here is, unless you address an impending problem, you shouldn't go poking around too much, because it did feel like I had an alternative problem apart from my O2. But after fixing this, I guess that pending code and that O2 code was the one that was putting the computer in limp mode, because this is fantastic. I'm not even on the floor, and that's what my car is doing right now. Really nice. I am on partial throttle, and going up this hill is very easy. That's a fix. I like that. You can see my O2 there is performing very well. I like that. That's a fix. So I'm going to turn back, go back to the workshop. Actually, first let me drive until I see that my readiness monitors have set. Then I'll go back to the workshop and close this thing out. Okay, I just want to do a wide open throttle test, and I'm going to start now. Beautiful. My O2 is rich the whole time. We're not going above 1 volt. The car has plenty power. I like that. Okay, let's head back to the workshop. Back at the workshop. I like the response of this car now. It's really nice. Let's now read our codes. There we have it. System pass, no fault codes detected. Beautiful. Let's check our readiness codes. And we are complete. O2. So the only thing that's not complete is the catalyst code. Now, that depends on that 420 bypass, but it takes a longer drive to do this. Now, I wish I would drive it, but look at this. That is the fuel level. I do not want to drive this further because I don't want to run out of fuel. And clients, this is bad manners. Do not bring cars for diagnosis with no fuel in the tank. What do you expect us to work with? We need fuel to be able to do the diagnosis. Anyway, let's go and do the harness nicely. I'm going to tape it up and we call this a day. Okay, harness is repaired. That's where the ECU is. To give you an idea of how tight that space is. That's what I've been working with. Yeah, one does put the ECUs in really bad places. But that's it. So it's all repaired, and this car is good to go. Another one for the books. See you next time.